You've probably seen this idea floating around online. It's one of those bits of wisdom that's so simple and so profound, it just feels like it's been true forever. It's a reminder of a fundamental rule that seems to be written right into the fabric of nature itself. And it all starts with just a few simple observations. Think about it. Rivers don't drink their own water. Their entire purpose is to flow, to give, to nourish everything else.
And trees? They don't eat their own fruit. They produce it to sustain all the life around them.
What about the sun? The sun doesn't shine for itself. It just pours out light and warmth, making all life on this planet possible.
You see where this is going, right? It all points to this one really elegant philosophy, a universal law of selflessness. Living for one another is the rule of nature.
Now, a message like that feels so timeless, so ancient, you'd think it came from some sacred text or a famous philosopher. But the real story of where it came from is actually, well, it's a bit of a mystery. Okay, so people have done some digging on this, and what they've found is pretty fascinating. It gets misattributed to Pope Francis all the time, but nope, not him. Some folks point way back to the ancient Indian thinker Chanakya, but you can't find an exact word-for-word match there either. So, what's the deal? It seems to be a modern summary of traditional wisdom. And you know what? That almost makes it more powerful. Its power isn't in who said it, but in the truth it reflects.
And that truth, well, it points to something so much bigger. It's about the fundamental operating system of our entire universe, a kind of hidden script that guides everything from total chaos toward harmony.
I mean, just stop and think about this for a second. The universe was born in the unbelievable chaos of the Big Bang. But over billions of years, that chaos somehow organized itself into galaxies, stars, and the incredible, intricate beauty we see all around us. So, how did that happen? The source material we're looking at here calls it an embedded script, an underlying intelligence that dictates how all the different parts of nature relate to one another. And we're actually already familiar with parts of this script. We just call them the laws of nature, things like gravity or thermodynamics. And this script has been evolving, getting more and more complex for eons. It started with simple physics, just matter and energy, following basic rules. Then that physics allowed for more complex chemistry, and that chemistry eventually gave rise to biology, to life. And within living things, the script showed up as this embedded code we call instinct. And it's that instinct that brings us right back to our opening poem. This is where we can see that rule of nature playing out in the animal kingdom every single day.
Think of a colony of ants or a flock of birds. Sure, each animal is an individual, but they are all driven by this deep, instinctual script to work together for the good of the entire group. They just inherently get the natural order of give and take.
But this is where the story takes a fascinating and really critical turn. This is where humanity enters the picture, with a unique and powerful ability that sets us apart from absolutely everything else in nature.
So on one side, you have the entire animal kingdom, governed by that embedded script where give and take is just natural. On the other side, you have us. Our intellect gives us this incredible capacity. We can actually override the script. We can choose to ignore the group and act purely from our own individual ego. And the consequences of using that override are huge. The further our societies move away from the rhythms and lessons of the natural world, the more that override can become our default setting. We can unlearn nature's most basic rule and instead develop an attitude of take and take.
So, if we have this ability to override our natural programming, what's the fix? How do we find our way back? Well, the answer, according to this wisdom, is to turn back to our very first teacher.
The solution, then, is to consciously reconnect with the lessons that nature shows us so effortlessly. It's about making a choice to realign ourselves with that original script, to restore our own built-in moral compass.
And the advice on how to do this is just beautifully simple. It's not some complex formula. It's a shift in mindset and in action. Become giving, just like the river and the tree, and become forgiving.
So, here's how we can translate those lessons from nature directly into our own lives. The river giving water, that teaches us to share our resources freely. The tree giving fruit, that's about providing for others. And the sun giving light, that teaches us to offer help without expecting anything in return.
And that leaves us with a final, really personal question. The source material talks about how a chick has to break its own shell to grow. For us, that shell is made of all the self-centered habits that society can teach us. So the question to reflect on is this:
What shell of learned behavior do you need to break?